Hey guys, a very good evening to all my crypto peculiars. So have you all been curious about what's happening in the market? Don't you worry, the coin monks got you covered. Okay, so before starting with the updates, let's quickly go today's headlines. Parachains officially launch on Polkadot network. The Bank of England will push for tighter rules as institutions embrace crypto, official says. Chinese miners still operating under the radar. Bitcoin book for American policymakers gets 5% funding on Kickstarter. So let's start off with our refresh feed. Firstly, the long-awaited launch of 5 parachains on the Polkadot network this weekend completed the long-awaited process of integrating numerous blockchains to the Polkadot network. So let's have a better look at what's getting cooked with our headline being: the 5 parachains that went online this weekend were picked after successful parachain auctions: Akala, A-Star, Clover, Moonbeam, and Parallel Finance. During the auction period, the 5 projects received about 99 million DOT, valued around $2.4 billion. Winning projects are basically leasing their 96-week parachain slots. The Polkadot team noted in a statement that the introduction of parachains on Polkadot reflects the completion of the initial goal expressed in the Polkadot white paper in 2016. Polkadot's key characteristics were defined in the Polkadot paper as well as the network's sharded multi-chain architecture. Parachains are the final piece of basic functionality to be completely introduced as stated in the paper. Polkadot's future development will be decided by its community of DOT holders who will vote on any future improvements via the network's on-chain governance mechanism. The winning ideas are focused on a variety of use cases such as decentralized finance and lending. The concept behind parachains is that each network may accommodate a variety of usage profiles while remaining connected to Polkadot's relay chain. According to John Dandoni of the Block Research, there are more than 200 Polkadot related initiatives spread over 19 verticals. So that was an interesting one, wasn't it? Moving forward with our next segment for today, we're going to talk about the Bank of England. So apparently, according to a Bank of England official, the UK Central Bank wants tougher international guidelines for crypto assets as banks and institutional investors become more involved. Well, that's not a new one. Anyways, let's dive into it. In an interview with the New York Times, Sarah Breeden, the executive director for financial stability, strategy and risk, said that the focus on international cooperation among central banks reflects the difficulties in acquiring data on institutional crypto holdings. Breeden told the Times, "This is not something the UK can tackle on its own." Breeden's remarks are probably predictable considering that other central bank officials have recently urged for greater international coordination among regulators, particularly those in charge of the banking industry. Indeed, Breeden's remarks parallelized those made by the Bank of England in a financial stability report issued last week. The central bank stated at the time that stricter restrictions would control risks, stimulate sustainable innovation, and preserve broader trust and integrity in the financial system. So moving ahead with our next coverage, what will you do if your country totally bans crypto? Looks like Chinese miners are quite intelligent here. Let's have a look at what they're up to with our headline being: miners from China continue to work in the nation. To defend their livelihoods, they use a combination of grid electricity, hydropower, and internet IP address manipulation. Chinese miners operate in the shadows, relying on off-grid power sources to stay afloat. A large flight of Chinese miners has recently occurred to more crypto-friendly nations in North America and Central Asia. This comes after China imposed a blanket ban on cryptocurrencies. Many miners with limited resources were left out in the cold. Some miners have chosen to remain under the communist regime. This is owing to travel limitations imposed by the epidemic, supply chain challenges, and a scarcity of outside contacts and funds. The miners that have survived are utilizing a combination of grid and water power. Hydropower dams are sprinkled across Sichuan and Yunnan provinces, and miners who utilize it get their energy from them. These dams are less visible and hence less likely to draw government notice. This is especially possible during the rainy season, which runs from May through the end of the fall season. To make the power from the dams compatible with their mining equipment, miners build their own infrastructure. A miner has 2 locations. To avoid government monitoring, the sites employ virtual private networks. In terms of mining activities, China Telecom serves as a monitor for the Chinese government. Qihu 360, a Chinese cybersecurity firm, has published a research. It demonstrates that mining thrives despite a nationwide ban. Every day, 109,000 mining internet protocol addresses are active according to the data. So wrapping up with our final segment, ever heard of Bitcoin book? Looks like it's existing. Well, it's getting some funding too. It'll be opinion based. It's my personal guess. Let's find out what this is about with our next inscription being: To decrease their reliance on the standard media narrative on cryptocurrencies, a group of 8 Bitcoin aficionados initiated a Kickstarter effort to print an instructive book for America's federal lawmakers. The campaign received $23,151 in contributions, over 5 times its $5,000 objective. The book was conceived shortly after the $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure plan was passed in the United States House of Representatives, which imposes strict reporting obligations on the crypto community. The authors claim that we set out to publish a book to assist policymakers in better understanding where Bitcoin users come from and what they care about. We want to remove the myth that it's geek money by demonstrating how it affects so many individuals in the United States. Jimmy Song, a crypto entrepreneur and seasoned novelist from Texas, started the Kickstarter. Annalise Witherspoon, Gary Leland, Pete Rizzo, Amanda Cavallari, C.J. Wilson, Charlene Fadirapo, and Lamar Wilson are among the other authors. The manuscript for the Bitcoin book has been developed and will be completed by the end of 2021 as planned. The writers want to make the audiobook and paper book ready for purchase by January, with a book launch event in Washington, D.C. to promote this book to follow. While the writers of Bitcoin book have already budgeted $5,000 for the book's creation, the remaining funds will be used to support the book's launch party. As authors of this book, we saw that Washington's perceptions were far from reality and set out to change that view. So we would now wind up with the assessment for today evening and meet you all tomorrow with even more interesting stuff. Until then, you may consider joining our Telegram channel for free crypto signals. Visit our blog linked below for guides, reviews and tutorials, and subscribe to the channel and get daily updates about the crypto market. Lastly, with this little favor of CoinMonks, we hope you stay updated. Thanks for watching and have a nice day ahead.